welcome back to Chit Chat. I'm so excited that you are here. I'm Melissa. This is Daly, and we are plugging along in our First Corinthians list of what love is and what that looks like in friendship and what that looks like in our relationship with Christ. And this week we blogged about love is not easily angered and love is not selfish. Those were the two things we talked about. So Daly, give me your first on thoughts on either of those things. What's something that kind of stood out to you this week?
I was really glad that I did not have to write about not easily angered because I can get fired up very fast. I tend to be, if it's something I'm very passionate about, I can get stuck on the principle of the matter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I can be a little quick fuse. So I was super glad you wrote on that and not me. And I thought, and I was very eager to read it because I thought, I wonder what Melissa's going to encourage me to do. But I didn't want to say that, but I thought it. And I thought that your approach of saying, if we focus on the things that we should be doing, it helps to curb the I want to say the sting of anger, that easy flip, the switch. And it does when you are going, okay, am I acting in proactively honoring, proactively kindness, proactively, then that helps. And I thought, yeah, that's what I need to do.
Well, it's funny because I wrote that post. I usually write early in the morning, like 5:30 is my insane time, the only time when the house is quiet. And I wrote it, and honestly, at 7 o'clock, my oldest child came down the stairs, and our 12-week-old puppy peed on the floor because she had not taken her out quickly. And I forgot what I wrote. I forgot it. And all of a sudden, I was like, blah, 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 all these things, and I thought, oh my goodness, grace upon grace, I know that, but here I am trying to portray not easily angered, because I think the easily part is really the part that is the hardest for me. Right. I can choose not to be angry in hard things. Mm-hmm. It is harder for me to remember not to be angry in quick things that aren't that important. My reaction is it's so quickly to go to anger instead of that deep breath when you're like, oh my goodness, this doesn't matter. There's no reason for this. And I think that's the part that trips me up a lot, more often than I'd like to say, of these nuances that should just be nuances. And quickly I'm like, oh my goodness, I think I'm angry about what?
Right. And I do think that when you talked about pride, about how when we're angry, how that's normally, it's because we're thinking about it from our perspective, what we're not getting or what we think should happen, and how that, it's opposite of the honoring of somebody else. And how do you, and I think that's truly, I think sometimes I take offenses as personal because it does attack my pride.
Right.
You know what I mean? But they're really small offenses.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think you hit it on the nail with saying that it's because it does, when we are showing anger, it's usually because it's touched our pride. Well, what about our pride has anything to do with what just happened? What are we attaching to that?
You start to see the weaving together of how it's not a haphazard list that God created. They're all weaved so intricately together. And so when you're looking at willingness to wait and patience, that comes over into that pride. If I'm willing to wait, I can't be prideful because I'm willing to wait for somebody else or something to happen, which leaks over into the not easily anchored. Because if I'm being patient and I'm willing to wait and I've given up my pride, then I won't be so quickly easily angered. And so it's just this beautiful web that has been just kind of, I don't know, I think of like a braid, woven together to create this picture of what love is. Not just a checklist and not just haphazard. These things sound good, so why don't you stick to them?
Right, exactly. It very much the way that it flows, which is great because that's what love is. It's this going about life with all of these things playing out.
Right.
How do we balance it all? Because at any given point, we could be asked to be patient. more so than what we usually are, or at any given point to show extra kindness or intentionality.
Or hold
And
back your anger. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Take a
Okay,
breath
so
first.
switching over, I loved your conversation because it led to something that you and I talked about privately this week as I've been pursuing a relationship. And you said the relationship has to be other person focused. It cannot be something you're gaining. And I thought that tied in so well to your blog post of, if I enter into a relationship, if I'm choosing not to be selfish, a relationship should be a two-way street, but I can only do my part. So I can't make a choice for the other person what they're going to do, but I have to enter into it with the other person's good intention in mind, thinking of what they need, thinking of what their outcome could be with my good intention of them, not what I'm going to gain from it myself. So I thought that just blended so well with your post.
Yeah, I think, and I had thought about that when we were going back and forth on Voxer, and kind of just thinking about how much of love, and I'm doing some more research on specifically this passage in general for future blogging, and I thought how much this love is a charitable kind of love. It is the one that gives to another. That's the whole, that's the specific kind of love that Paul is referencing here. And how it, I mean, by design, it's other-minded. And how quickly, especially in relationships, and I think because we want to present ourselves as whatever we're trying to present ourselves. We want to be seen as friendly, we want to be seen as kind, or someone who's entertaining or funny or whatever. And we don't always realize that if it's to move into a place of true community, true like sharing, that it has to be pointed towards another.
Right.
That is what it is.
Yeah.
And it's near impossible without Jesus.
Absolutely. Well, I think you touched on parenthood, and we had kind of talked about that in the beginning. And I think parenthood's so hard because any parent is selfless in their parenting. The whole essence of parenting is putting yourself second and putting somebody else's needs first. But I think the mindset is different from, oh, woe is me, which I can fall into. Oh, woe is me. I haven't sat down. I haven't done anything for myself today, versus the mindset of, I desire to put you first because I love you, not out of this obligation as a parent. I am selfless.
Right. And I think sometimes the balance of having to say, because another part of loving another well is also, like you were talking about last week, how this honoring of where people are and what they're going through, that includes our children, and understanding where they are. And so sometimes that require that we not give of our sacrifice, but we give of our grace to allow them the space to grow. And that looks different. And so it is like this, it takes all of these pieces kind of moving and working together, and obviously discernment and leadership, strength from the Holy Spirit within us. And I think that's why, God says, remain in me, like remain in my love, because if you remain in my love, then you will be in my love. Like you will be giving this charitable weaving, like you said, of all of these things together in whatever capacity they need to be given.
Right. Yeah.
Which is difficult.
It is difficult. And I think as the list grows and as we unpack it, I know that as we get further into it, we're going to wrap it a little more tightly, because I think as it grows and you're being mindful, it can feel overwhelming, right? Like you want it to be an outpouring of just who you are, to love well. And I think it's very important that we go through these things and unpack what that looks like. But then there's this like wrap that you want to do of like, hey, it shouldn't feel like a burden.
Right.
It should feel like a joy to be able to love somebody in the way that Christ loves us.
Right. The fact that is our example. That is what he was the first to do it well and right and perfect. And so, and we'll never reach that, But I do believe that the more that we pursue, how is it that Christ has loved us? The more that we look at him, the more that we do, hopefully, are capable of receiving and seeing that poured personally between a God who loves us so well. And then out of that, it does become an overflow. I think as Christians, we get so bogged down, you know, in the weight of, I've got to do it well, I got to do it right. And we don't allow ourselves to be loved well.
Yeah.
That's where it really comes from.
Yeah. Yeah. And being able to recognize, I think that a great thing you can do for your own friend is to recognize where they're loving you well, and to encourage and admire that in them, because I think we all come with such a different perspective and such a different gifting. And so there's things that are going to be really easy for you to do that's part of that list of how to love people well, and things that are challenging, and my challenges are going to look very, very different. And so I think honoring that as we're in more depth of friendship, to say, when you honored me with your time, or when you honored me with your commitment, that meant a lot to me. Or when you could have been angry at a situation with me and I hurt you and you chose not to, that was loving me well. And so I think that there's a lot that can come from just knowing and understanding what this depth of love looks like.
Right. I agree with that. I think it's important. And I think that's a good, and it does open up the chance to be able to be honest about where you are on some of those things, like being able to say, I'm struggling with being easily angered, like I'm there all stinking week.
Yeah. Until my kids are not on COVID short days of school.
Oh my goodness. Yes, the fuse has definitely.
Yes, it's shortened.
Yes, it has.
Daly, remind me, let's see if you can on the fly remind me what our blog topics are for the next week.
No records of wrong. And then do you get to do something good?
Time protection. Yeah. Love always protects. And I've so pondered that over the last couple of days, because I thought, again, that's a big topic, but it is a positive topic. You've got the hard one next week.
Oh, yeah. No record of wrongs and always protects. Okay, this will be good.
Yeah, it'll be good. So join us next Friday as we jump on for another chit chat at the front yard. Bye.
Bye.